Horizon 5 seems like the perfect game on the surface, with great fidelity, beautiful graphics, and a map with totally different biomes. A mountain you can traverse as if you were racing Pikes Peak. The game has got some overwhelmingly positive reviews. PC Invasion gave this game a perfect score, no flaws, stating a rich map, tons of content, and fantastic visuals. Makes this game the best racing experience the reviewer ever had. Gaming Nexus gave it a 95. With the game having such great critic reviews, what is wrong with Forza Horizon 5? When you think of the market share for the racing genre, what games come to mind? Assetto Corsa, Need for Speed, The Crew? Well, the racing sim genre is very different from the open world racing genre. You're not going to look for the same gameplay loop from a simulation racer, compared that to the simcade that is Forza Horizon. Need for Speed keeps floundering on its attempt to revitalize the series with Unbound.
One thing that Unbound gets good though is its storytelling with compelling characters.
But after 20 to 30 hours when you finish the campaign, you're left with a disappointing endgame. So realistically, unless the Crew Motorfest finds itself as an innovative masterpiece, which under Ubisoft I don't believe is possible, Forza Horizon doesn't have any competition. And without competition, you find yourself with a lack of desire to innovate. If your product works, and nobody is lighting a match under your ass, there's no reason to innovate.
Now I understand that this is a slippery slope fallacy, but I have a feeling that if this continues on, Forza will end up like a sports franchise like Madden.
It's the same thing! Just now, they uploaded some details. Well, look at the character! Look at his muscles! Like, man, this looks pretty cool, so as long as it's not broken, I think it's gonna be pretty good.
It's always broken.
That is their minimum requirement. Not even the fully fledged superstar mode from 2012, or what was it, 2012? Something like that.
Years.
And even if it was, that's it? Really? Fuck this, Joe. They're gonna buy it too. Fuck.
You know they are.
I know, guys who like racing games probably aren't the same type of person who follows the NFL,
Or really play sports games in general.
and yet you probably know that Madden is the same game that came out last year for another $70. But you know why? EA owns the license to the NFL, so they are the only ones who can make NFL football games. They acquired the license in 2004 after ESPN NFL 2K5 undercut Madden and sold their game for $30 instead of $60.
Smell like bitch in here. All y'all smell like bitch to me. Why you in my house? Why you at my fireplace at my dinner?
But guess what? That game is what is referred to as the last great NFL football game. After that, Madden had no competition as consumers didn't want to play an American football game that was not licensed. And every year, year after year, Madden removes features and then re-adds them as new features 10 years later. Seems familiar? The lack of competition in the NFL football game zone has allowed EA to not innovate their game and release the same game over and over year after year. Forza Horizon 5 is starting to head down that route. What happened between Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Horizon 5? I thought for sure, the abysmal user interface would be addressed. I thought the writing would improve. I thought there would be huge innovation in some aspects. When Forza Horizon 3 launched their DLC, they innovated with snow physics and weather in Blizzard Mountain. And then guess what? When Forza Horizon 4 launched, would you imagine that got innovated and made into the season system? And then Forza Horizon 4, we saw Fortune Island with cool weather effects. And would you have it that innovated into the storms that you see in Forza Horizon 5? Of course, with this trend, I was like, I'm absolutely pre-ordering the DLC. I would buy it anyways. Well, we got the Hot Wheels DLC, which didn't keep me entertained enough to bother finishing it. And the Rally DLC, which I thought was disappointing. This is supposed to showcase what Playground Games has been working on and what they will innovate into the next entry of the series, and it's a copy of Horizon 3 DLC with Hot Wheels and a copy of Horizon 1 DLC with Rally. We've seen both of these, and they don't really do anything to differentiate themselves from their previous counterparts. The Rally DLC is what? Corny dialogue and some signs, the same information the minimap conveys to you. I like the map. I like the tight hairpins, and I like the off-camber turn. It's some of the better racing compared to its Mexico counterpart. However, it doesn't feel any different from the main map. Fortune Island felt like a new map. The Rally DLC, I can't even remember the name of the location off the top of my head. That leads me to the next point. The map in Forza Horizon 5 feels very
empty.
It's big, but is it big for the sake of being big?
That's quite big. Impressive.
When you look at the first Horizon, there's these beautiful vertical mountain rocks and these canyons. The map looks great. Horizon 3, there's an urban environment of the city, which I think whoops the ass of
Horizon 5's attempt at the urban environment with Guadalajara.
Why is Horizon 5's map so big and empty? Is there really anything interesting? Why would you make a design decision? Why would you make a design decision? Why would you make a design decision like this when you advertise that exploration is a big important feature of Horizon 5 and leave the map so empty? Oh yeah, the Eliminator. It becomes apparently obvious that the Eliminator Battle Royale mode was in mind when developing the map. You need to be able to drive across these big empty fields from point A to point B in order to level up your car and eliminate your opponents. Which sure, the map works well for this game mode, but who's primarily playing Forza Horizon as a Battle Royale game? Maybe I'm old, and you're probably old too if you're watching video essays about racing games. But who is playing this game? I can only imagine a younger audience who can't get enough of the Fortnite floss dance when they're walking in between classes in middle school. There are a few highlights when it comes to the map. The volcano is a very fun climb. I like how there's a giant bridge off in the distance. And guess what? You can drive on that bridge. It's a road and a set piece. If this was a racing game in 2002, it would be a 2D sprite splatter on the skybox in the background. I love the Baja Dunes and how different they can be from the rest of the map. But do you know where you're spending most of your time? In the middle of the map, with nothing but big empty fields so middle school kids can play the latest trend. I'm surprised that Forza hasn't swapped the wheel spin system for a battle pass system at this point with who they're targeting. Who are they targeting? This game does everything in its power to belittle its player. I'm a 28-year-old man who could take some losses. I can feel some heartbreak. I could get invested in a story. And that is not unique to being older. Just because the game wants to target a younger demographic and a grumpy ass old man who is upset game companies don't target someone who has to work 5 days a week and doesn't have endless time to play video games like a teenager can, doesn't mean the writing has to be bad. Children's stories are the foundation to great stories. Even if your house isn't fancy and it still has a solid foundation, that's all you need. Horizon lacks this foundation and spits in the player's face, stating, "You can't handle any diversity, challenge, or conquer anything, even though this is a racing game, and the point of racing is competition." This game was designed not to hurt the feelings of toddlers. The writing is as bare bones as it can be. In fact, after 10 minutes of playing the game, I turned the volume off. So for this video, I have to turn it back up and give it a listen, and oh god, is it terrible.
He means we went to school together. Let's just get this over with.
Frankie's driving is exceptional as always, but why did I just catch a glimpse of another Frankie relaxing in their trailer with a mug of...
We're breaking things, but it's for science. Tiempo para volar. See, research indicates Horizon fans do enjoy drifting.
I inherited the money, but the talent, that's all me. I have perfect control of my vehicle. Accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. You're looking at a genius behind the wheel right here.
Oh, impossible. This doesn't represent me. This doesn't represent me. Don't put this on my record.
I understand what they were going for here, but it feels like someone is doing a school assignment and they just mark off everything on the rubric without putting much effort in it. They're like, well, I have it on the assignment, so it's good enough, right? No, it's not good enough. The writing is terrible.
If you want to play a fun drinking game,
take a shot every time you are called
Superstar.
Superstar.
Superstar?
So you're the superstar.
Superstar.
so how the stories are laid out, you drive from point A to point B. And the worst part is, some of the races you have to cut corners in order to make the 3 stars. And others, you can just follow the road.
You are now following the shorter route.
Anna, whose side are you on, amiga?
Incorrect. There is no fixed route for this encounter. I am providing navigational assistance.
Which means I feel like I have to take my car off-roading every time I do a story event, because I'm afraid that I won't make the time if I follow the suggested route.
If you've played any of the story missions, you can understand how frustrating this inconsistency is.
The game jerks you off any chance that it can, and there's no conflict.
Well, well, well. If it isn't the two masterminds caught in the act. Can't believe I didn't recognize your driving sooner, kid.
Why? It's nice to have a real driver at the wheel.
Let's feel that. Nice slice.
If you're ever curious about what a movie would be like if nothing bad ever happened, then it would end up similar to how Forza Horizon's story is. The worst offender is that even if you wanted to cater to a younger audience, it doesn't have to be this Mickey Mouse Clubhouse bullshit dialogue, but it can be educational. Forza Motorsport 4 had this nailed back in 2011. Do you know who Michelle Mouton is? She's the first female driver to win the Pikes Peak Hill Climb in 1985 in an Audi Quattro Spec B.
If I have some emotion, of course it's the noise of the Quattro. I mean, nobody can forget the noise. Even today, I think we miss this kind of noise.
You could do the Volcano Hill Climb and tell her story and recreate some stories that have actually happened in history. It would be incredible, but instead, we get this Toon Disney dialogue to make sure not to step on anyone's toes. No risk, no adversity.
And the frustrating thing is that they did do this with the Made in Mexico, but then they throw you into this fucking spaghetti map of Guadalajara. He tells you that there's no checkpoint, so you're going to be looking for the fastest way to get there. So instead of listening to the useful, or not useful, but the interesting information he's telling me, I'm trying to figure out how the hell to get through the streets.
The 10-year anniversary story is pretty interesting. You race in the cover cars from the corresponding game and race in the starting car, or like a car that matches like an event that you did in the respective game. You get a little bit of history of the Horizon franchise, which I think makes some of the better story missions. But once again, it's just like a free roam rush. Start here, get there, nothing interesting really happens. At one point, I was driving and I was like, wait, why am I even following the road? And just rewinded and then started plowing through the field. Is this fun? Is this what the developers intended? To drive a Lamborghini through the fields of Mexico? I believe the best games leave me with a suspension of disbelief, where you act like everything's real because it feels real, even though that it might feel a little bit off. King of the Hill is perfect for this, where the stories feel outrageous, but they still feel believable.
Briefcase.
What the hell are you doing?
Give it. Pocket sand.
I love getting incredibly immersed in a game, but this makes me feel disbelief that this is all fake and a game. What am I doing this for? And then they sprinkle in some goodness like the Forza Horizon 4 timed event from the anniversary. It's a curated race. You can't just plow through the fields and there's checkpoints. That one was enjoyable, but then it threw me straight back into a hypercar and said get to point B as fast as possible, so I guess back through the fields I go.
I'm going to put this one together, UI and game flow, because they kind of have an effect on each other. The game flow is slow because of the UI. All the menus you have to go through to do anything in this game. At one point I tried to make this danger sign for the challenge and I didn't get 3 stars my first attempt, and so I had to sit through the entire dialogue, and then I retried the event, and then once again I didn't make 3 stars, so I had to sit through the same dialogue again without being able to skip it. I swear most of the time I play in this game, I'm listening to somebody talk, getting explained a menu, or having trouble connecting with my friends. One thing I also hate is that when you get a new mission, you cannot fast travel to the icon. You have to back out, wait for it to load, open up the menu, go back to the map, and then you can fast travel to it. That is just so much unnecessary time, and that's a big problem I have with this game, is all the amount of like filled time that I'm not doing anything fun. And God forbid you spend most of your time on the Mexico map and you want to do a different event like the Hot Wheels one. It took me so long to load from starting my game to get into my first race, just waiting for the Hot Wheels to load. And I don't have a slow computer. I have a pretty good computer. I got a 3950X processor, got a 3070 GPU, I use an SSD, and yet I find most of my time waiting around in menus. The online play doesn't let you choose what race you want to, if you want any variety. So let's say you like street and mixed surface racing, so you're fine with both of those. So you're playing through and you're like, all right, mixed surface, and then you get to cross country and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna play this. Now you're going through some more menus, it's just not fun. They instead insist that you select S1 road or A road and just repeat that one. And if you want variance, then you better like everything. You better like cross-country races if you're somebody who likes technical street races, because that's getting thrown in the mix too. And if you don't want to play that, well, then you have to search again. Let's say the same lobby populates, then you have to search again. It's just really, really annoying. I'd like to point some attention to another game that flew under the radar. It's called Riders Republic, and they integrated the social aspects of this game so well. You see all these little white dots on this map here? These are players, except these aren't actual live players. The game records your movement, and when you are not playing, it fills in like your, I guess, quote-unquote drivatar for this game to show a replay of what you did. So none of the movements are done by AI. All of the movement is done by player input. And then there's also these gold players who are actual players that you'll find in the world, similar to the convoy system of Forza Horizon. And did you see how many dots there were? If Ubisoft is capable of recreating all these drivatars in the world, why can't Forza Horizon do that? Why can't Forza Horizon have other drivers driving at the festival? This is something that has blown my mind, because when you play on single player, it feels so much more immersive, but when you are playing online, the world feels so empty, and Ubisoft's Riders Republic does a really good job about immersing you in that world. Forza Horizon is a really good game. The driving physics is the best in its class. Like, nothing matches it. It's so good. It's fun to drive, and that's the most important part of a racing game, you would think. But there's just so much bloat. The map is just so uninteresting. And I feel like I'm being talked to as like I'm a kid. It makes me have no interest playing the single player stuff. And when I have no interest playing the single player stuff, and the multiplayer is a miss too, well, that just leaves me with nothing else to play on it. So, sorry Forza Horizon 5, you're getting uninstalled, and I'll see you, Forza Motorsport, when you release.